My inspiration for songwriting in the beginning was totally different from what it is now. You know, I started writing music when I was 13, and my first song I wrote that I kept was when I was 15, and Let's Jump in the Fire. And it ended up being a multi-platinum record. One of the next songs I wrote was Hangar 18, and that song is on a platinum record. The next one after that was Rest in Peace. That's on a platinum record. Then you gotta think about all the stuff that showed up in Metallica. My first 4 songs that I wrote, those were all classics. And then I had that life-changing episode in New York. And writing music for fun and for chicks and to get laid all of a sudden became writing music out of revenge. After I became successful enough, it was kind of like writing music out of boredom. And then you look at some of the things that you're singing, like anarchy. How can I be an anarchist when I'm driving a Mercedes? You know, plus I'm a Christian. I'm not going to say I'm an antichrist. I would never do that anymore. The flying V shape, if you boil it down to its lowest common denominator, it has to be because of Michael Schenker. Schenker was one of my favorite guitar players as a kid. None of the other of my guitar heroes played a flying V. Angus played an SG, Jimmy played a Les Paul. You know, so it became a guitar kind of choice. This is my second term with Dean. The treatment that I get from the company is what really mattered to me. You know, I knew what I wanted. I've been playing guitar a long time, and I know how to make a guitar sound good, and I know how to make it play good. Our relationship, we're in the second term, which is the beginning of the 4th year. It's been really fun. I'm pretty set in my ways, and you know, I am who I am, and you know, I have a lot of experience. So it's always something where the best interest is for me as the artist, which you don't get that from a company. They usually are looking out for themselves. And that's one of the cool things about Elliot Rubinson, is that he's a very smart man and he's very passionate about his music, so I think that helps him to understand the underlying idiosyncrasies of a musician's mind. When it comes down to designing the actual guitars, I know what I want for the neck. Sometimes the body is a little different. I mean, the most important thing for me is if the guitar sounds good. You know, I don't care if it looks like a friggin' piece of furniture. You know, I want it to sound good. So the great thing about being with Dean is that you leave the important stuff up to them. You tell them what you want, and the guitar that you'll get back will be beyond your wildest dreams, especially if you've got the same kind of playing style that I do. Once you get to know the guitar, it almost becomes like you're playing on autopilot. The graphics that we've used with all of the models that we've had so far, the sources of the graphics are different. Some of it's from old artwork that we've had, like the Rest in Peace guitar, and then some of it's new stuff like this Angel of Death guitar. That's a really interesting guitar as far as the paint job on it. I think it's opened up a whole nother world for Megadeth fans, for Dave Mustaine fans, for Flying V fans, to see guitars that play like this, that look like this, because for me, again, it's a whole nother level. And one of the other guitars I loved was the Explorer body. Dean has a guitar that they'd made before called the Z. It was pretty much a guitar that was a non-guitar. No one was endorsing it, and I said, man, I'd love to do something with that guitar. We took the basis of the Z, and I sharpened the lines on it, changed the way the electronics were put into it, made the neck much more accessible, and just basically hot rodded the guitar. Call it the Zero because it reminds me of Japanese fighter planes. It was treated so it looks retro. And that guitar, I swear to God, it looks like you've gone to some dude that's like a church guy that's had a guitar given to him when he was 15 and he stuck it under his bed, and he's like 70 right now trying to clear it for a bake sale or something, and you look at it, it's like, oh, that guitar looks like it really is like a 50-year-old guitar. It just blew my mind. I started off playing the amplifiers that I could afford, but you know what, do I want an affordable sound or do I want excellence? When it came down to being able to get the amps that I did want, I got Marshall. Now, I haven't played Marshall my whole career. I lost my way for a couple of years when that we were getting direction from everybody on what to do and what to do and what to do and change your music and go alternative. That was a bummer for me but it's almost like you have to know what's on the other side of the fence to see is the grass really greener. And I was completely convinced after I came back to Marshall that this is why I wanted to stay for the rest of my career. And I made it clear to the family, I'm completely 100% dedicated to Marshall, just like I am with Dean. And I don't see me playing another amplifier ever. Now, the way that the DM cabinets developed over time was I had played a lot of times in festivals, and people, they send tokens of appreciation up to you on stage. Of course, they don't hand them to you, they hurl them at you. For some reason, the object of affection that's most popular is a shoe. I mean, I could see if I had one leg and they were throwing a shoe up as some kind of an offering, but they only throw one of them, and it's like, if you're not going to throw both of them, don't. Besides the fact they would hit my cabinets. As soon as they hit the cabinets, with the grill cloth being made out of paper and not cloth, it tears very easily, especially if it's wet. If you get those cabinets wet and then you hurl something at them, it's even that much more difficult for it to maintain its integrity. Once I put that grill cloth on there, I knew that this was going to be indestructible. On top of that, I went into every single seam on the cabinet, everywhere, and I put caulking on it so that the cabinet became like a piece of stone. It had no moving parts at all. There was no way that anything could vibrate. It was all one piece of, like somebody took a giant tree and just carved a cabinet out of it. We changed from the Mode 4 over to the 1960 cabinet, which is just a stock bottom square cabinet. I've always used the squares. We changed the hardware, the cabinet corners, the wheels, the handles, everything is the state-of-the-art stuff that they used. So not only that, with the electronics that are inside of the cabinet, we've used the very best stuff that money can buy. And we have these Celestion speakers, are custom speakers. They're my model. Until you go out on stage and you realize that, you know what, you're in battle. But it helps to have the best weapons. The amplifiers that we used in the studio are the JVM 410s, which are the bigger of the models. The flexibility of the amplifier it's amazing what you can do with this. All you need to do is listen to Endgame, and that's the sound that everybody knows is a classic Megadeth sound. And in order to get that before, we'd have to have tons of cabinets and heads and all kinds of things to fit wherever we were recording at. This thing is a beast, and we went in there and we plugged it in. We just adjusted the pots just a little bit, getting some volume and EQing stuff down, and that was it. Now live, I play through the EL34 100 dual monoblock heads because for me, recognize Marshall as having the sound that I want. It's also got the manufacturing integrity that I need. Touring as much as Megadeth does, especially in a lot of the places that we go to that other bands just don't go, going into Ecuador and going into Chile and these places, going into Colombia and finding out that people are getting kidnapped and having things put on their neck, and if they don't pay the ransom, their head explodes. We go to play there. We go places that people don't go, and we need equipment that's going to be dependable no matter what, especially when you're getting unreliable power. It's something that most amateur musicians don't have to, I would say, experience, but it's more like suffer the consequences of. Now, the only difference between what I do sonically with the Marshalls in the studio and on the road is I use an additional component when I'm on the road. I use the Digitech 1101 guitar processor. For me, that gives me exactly what I want sound-wise. Now, we did not use that on the album because we were using everything on the album, but we do use it live because it's capable of replicating anything that we've done on any record. For me, I needed to have a little bit more diversity, and unless you're a professional musician going at the level that we do, you probably wouldn't really even notice it. We have a new record out called Endgame. It's our 12th studio release. As far as like the recording, it's all done here at Vic's. The cool thing about this studio is nobody knows it's here. It's got a T1 service into the building here, so there's no, oh my God, I can't get my email. We're totally state-of-the-art, Pro Tools HD3 and all that good stuff. I think it's obvious when you listen to the record that the sound is exciting. It also has that classic kind of English crunch that you get from Marshall. The overall sound, it's invigorating because it's got that classic new wave of British heavy metal mid-range and top end, and it's got the bottom end that's, you know, synonymous with a lot of really warm modern records. You know, that's subharmonic EQ and getting into the lower EQ where they really focus on that and really warms things up. But, you know, if you don't have the mid-range and the top end decided where it's going in the frequency map, you're just going to have a big mess. I think that that's one of the things that's really cool about this particular record is going that way, where you think modern and you have the goods to sound classic, because the combination of the two is going to appeal to anybody, especially when you have new fans listening to this record. One of the things that we found out over the internet, this is a critically acclaimed record. You know, it's a record which has healed a lot of relationships. When we first came into Vic's here, we didn't know what we were going to call it, so I just said, everybody kept saying, you're going down to the shop, you're going down to the shop. And it's like, it's not a shop, okay? You know, I said, if anything, it's more like a garage than a shop. And then we just ended up, they kept referring it to as Vic's, Vic's Garage. And I was pretty open-minded to that idea at the time. But, the name is not really as important as the building and the magic that comes out of here. And so far, we've had some really good stuff. Andy did some stuff for Unearthed here. I did something with Static X here. We did a whole bunch of interviews and photo shoots and stuff. And so far, everything that's come out of here has been really, really great. As far as like any of the other things I got going on in the world right now, my only challenges are getting my kids through school and being able to honor my wife and family enough. And while I love being involved with the company and this opportunity to promote myself and my products, I also know that there's a lot of other people out there that are just as deserving or more than me, and they don't get the opportunities because they don't take the risks. And you've really got to put yourself out on a limb and do stuff that you may not want to do because you got to invest in yourself, or you have to sit there and you have to type back to fans and you have to sit there for hours and do the chats and stuff like that. But in the long run, if you're playing music because you love to play music, then you'll be like I was. I said in the beginning that I'd be willing to push a pencil up a mountain with my nose to make it, and I made it. Nose is still there.